Today's divine nugget is a very simple one. If you want something, make room for it. If you want someone, make room for them. Whether you want more money in your life, more fun, more ease, more freedom, more love, whether you want, whether you're on a twin flame journey, anything. In order to be able to have it, there has to be room in your life to have it. And a lot of times, what stops us from being able to have the things that we want is that our lives are actually quite full up with a whole bunch of stuff that we don't want and the stuff that we got from shoulding all over ourselves, right? I should do that. I should have done this. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. We fill up our lives with that stuff. And then the universe sits there giggling at us, going like, I know you say that you want freedom. I know that you say that you want love. I know you say that you want to be a millionaire and win the lotto and have your true love with you all the time and have lots and lots of fun. But look at what you got going on in your life right now. When do you have time for it? Where do you have space for it? Especially when it comes to things like, how do you even put it? Like if you want a good healthy relationship, where's the time and space? Like if you're single or you're in separation, did you fill up all of your time with other people's stuff, BS? Do you spend all of your time? Is there any time in your schedule, whether intentional or unintentional, where you have space for something new to come in? Where you are in a space of receptivity where you just feel good about everything coming into you and that you have more space? Because if you don't feel like you have more space, then nothing new is going to come in. And if you can get to that space, if you can get that advanced into a space where you're like, oh, you know what? I want this new thing and I don't want to get rid of anything else, so I'm just going to open up some space for things to come in. Then you got to go back a step and learn to crawl before you can run, which is releasing things, making room in your life. If you're constantly talking, well, if you have a big community, when it's people you work with, your family, most of us do in some form or another, unless you're a true hermit, and then those energies are probably still there. They're probably just more in your head. But that's funny. I just got it. One of my posts has 5 likes and 2 comments. I've never had a notification like that from YouTube before, but I'm going to say 5 and 2 are relevant right now, as is the number 7. Interesting. The Hierophant, the High Priestess equals victory. Hey, Pixie. Say hey. Anyways, but sometimes before you can get to the space where you can just go, oh, I want a new thing in my life and I'm going to manifest the space and I'm going to feel like I had the thing because I know how to do that. Sometimes the first thing you got to learn is to make room for what you want. It's kind of like if let's say your altar space or your room. For me, it's often my altar. Like, I'll put too many things on it, right? And it's not that it's too many. Like, I just let myself flow and, okay, I want to put these things on it. I want to think about this and pray about that. And when I pass by it or come into it, I want to look at it and remember that thing or that memory or that action that I want to do, or I wanted to send prayers to so and so for a thing they were going through. And then there comes a time when it's like, I either want to add something to the altar, and I'm like, there's so many things on it right now. There's so many things on it. Where do I put it? And I can be in it. Sometimes I'm in like, oh, I don't want to take anything off. I really, like last time I cleaned it, I already narrowed it down to all the most important things. And then, Spirit, my guides help me laugh at myself and go, that, you see how silly you're being right now? And so then I go, yeah, yeah, all right, cool. And I start to, and usually, well, in the past, it's been like, okay, then I want to think about what I want to remove. Nowadays, it's not so bad. Nowadays, it's like, oh, okay, like removing these things doesn't mean I don't care about them anymore. It doesn't mean that they're not important or that spirit doesn't hear them. Like I'm not in a space of lack for any of that. But so then I can just clear the space. Ah, yeah, no worries. Have fun dashing. Um, so yeah, so I can clear the space on there, and then I have almost a blank template there. Now, like my altar has various things on it that are always there. They're always a key component that for stuff for me in there. But there will be lots of other little knickknacks that I like to have on there for whatever thing that I'm working on. And it's fun now over time, over years of doing this, to see my own cycles and things that go on with that and when new things come in. And it's these days when I'm doing like divine nuggets like this that I'm seeing the overall stuff and sharing it with you. Is like when you think about the stuff that you've worked on in there, it's very much the same stuff you work on in your mind and your heart in 5D, and that comes out in the 3D. And when you clean up that altar space, you make room for new stuff. You have faith that the old stuff like if it still needs to be worked out, it's not already worked out, then it will be worked out. And it was probably waiting for you to have some acknowledgement of either going, I don't really need that anymore, or I'm good without that, or I'm happy with how it actually went, or something like that. And then you release it as you remove it from the altar, and then you open up that energetic space. Then you can put anything in there that you want. You have like a Minecraft sandbox, if you will, just this free pocket dimension to do something with, right? Actually, that's a great thought. If you think of your altar as your own personal pocket dimension that you can craft and turn into anything you want, that's where the magic begins. So, if you take that and expand that to the rest of your life, and you think about all the things that you've gathered around you, the things that are around you are your vibration, right? The things that just so many downloads came in that. Like, think about it. Like, do you end up around a lot of expensive cars? Do you end up around a lot of parks or bodies of water? The DoorDash is actually one of my favorite business independent thing to do, because it like it really shows you where your vibration is when you have a job that takes you from space to space to space to space and around different people. Like when I'm in a crappy mood, I can tell because I get crappy customers, and like not that they're crappy, but they're crunchy, they're not in a good mood, or they're mad because I was 5 minutes late, or I got lost in their apartment complex and they thought I was goofing off. Like, it's pretty it's fun to play with the universe as both someone who enjoys manifestation and just in seeing like where my vibration is. So, if you think about that, like where do you end up around? Do you end up around a lot of water? Do you end up around a certain amount of numbers? Do you end up with not very much work or too much work in spaces that you can't handle it? And when you're at work, what are all the things that come up during the day that keep you distracted from work or pull your attention away? And when you're at home, what are the things that pull your attention away from being able to enjoy your space at home? And like either well, like I want to say, just goofing off with yourself, like whether you have a partner at home or kids at home or not, like to be able to goof off with yourself and enjoy it. The only things that are ever in the way of that is either we're focused on on some kind of lack that's making us feel icky, or we have some negative self-talk in our minds that creates some sort of a shame stated, right? Brings us to the team, the what is it, the hashtag team am I crazy, right? And then we feel weird if we're not interacting with somebody else, or if we enjoy our own jokes, our own time, things like that. And so then we fill it up with space with other people, or we're afraid to sit and listen to our own thoughts and to hear the voice of spirit, sort of thing. We're afraid of what we might hear, what we might say. um that's so funny. That's it. You get a lot of spiritual, yeah, see, right? Spiritual messages through your orders. I swear, like that's one of the things that like I tried to share with my DM early on, and I think it freaked him out a little bit, and then the rest is just like, no, it can't be, but like it does. I've even ran into people that were like past life karmics for me, not romantically, but like in the weird thing, I like in it, and old business got worked out when I was least expecting it to, which would often happen, like when Maverick and others would talk about expect the unexpected stuff. And then when I started predicting it too, it's like, oh wow, that was really unexpected. But it's funny because it's a great way. Like, that's another example. This is a very simple one. If you would like to have a more magical life, if you would like things to be easier for you in life, then all you have to do is be able to believe that you can have communication in these ways through your work, through movies, through advertisements, through the little games you play on Facebook, through billboards and books and movies and things like that, and music. Like, what you believe is true pretty much 100% of the time. Like, even if you look back and look at something that seemed too good to believe it, like too good to be true or unbelievable, if you go back, you can see that you did believe it more than you didn't believe it. But you were, for whatever reason, feeling like you couldn't give yourself that feel good feeling of knowing that you were right, And even in the moments when you knew you were right and you went with it and everybody goes, "Oh yeah, you were right." You might get to that place and then be like, "Well, but I've been wrong so many other times." Like, you diminish it. You knock it down. Like, stop that. Because it's more fun anyways. You can always acknowledge that, yeah, this might be a bunch of nonsense, but you got one life to live. If you enjoy having it be a little more magical, if you don't care that other people, like some other people, aren't going to be able to see it, if you believe in the genuine light in everyone, and you just delight in yourself, you make so much room in your life. And that starts to lead to healing. And that's kind of what I mean by make room. So you got to look around in your life. Like, where do you have room in your heart for someone else beyond yourself? Like, not just you give your heart to somebody else and you don't do your stuff. Like, when you can do everything for yourself that you formerly wanted everybody else to do for you, then you have a lot of room in your life for someone else to come in and do something new and not repeat old cycles of the past. And when you make room in your mind for, like, let's say you're doing a twin flame thing, or you're working something out with a parent or a friend or something like that, when you make room in your mind for them to be a whole new person, for it to work out way better than you ever expected, you make room for that to happen. If you know that they're not going to change, well, they're not, duh, because you're right. You're always right. So be careful what you choose to be right about, and just think about it. And if you get to that point to where you're like, no, I know I'm right, that that person hurt me on purpose, and you then at that point you can make room by going, okay, you know what? The truth is that either I'm bored with this or I just don't want to go back to it, and so I'm going to stop hurting myself on it, and I'm just going to let that person vibrate out of my life. Whereas if it's the other side of it keeps coming back and you keep revisiting it, then it's time to own that you're contributing to the manifestation, not alone. It's never all your fault. There's nothing, really, nothing is nobody's fault. We're either having a great time or we're learning something that makes it easier for us to have a great time later. You know what I mean? That's for me, that's a universal truth at this moment in time. It might change later. I'm cool with changing my mind. I'm good with just going with the flow. But for right now, those are the rules and I'm sticking to them. But you can find many ways, if you stop and wonder about it, to make room in your life for the things that you want. Some of it's you gotta play with it. Some of it you gotta play with it with yourself. Some of it you need to play with it with other people. But, not but, and when you do that, you're gonna find that you release a lot of things that were never necessary for you. Codependent relationships, fear of the court of public opinion, like what other people might think about what you do. And the more you do that, actually, the more you make room for people to come in who love what you do. Think about that. If you're holding space for everyone, like everyone will think I'm crazy. Think about those words. You're holding space for everyone on earth. Now, then if you define it and you're like, actually, I'm worried about this one person who might be really dramatic. I'm worried about what my parents might think or my kids might think. And I'm worried about whether or not I'll regret this decision in the future. Like, those are very few things that you're actually worried about when you say everyone, when you're worried about what everyone will think. And once you release that everyone thing and you're like, okay, it's just a few people I'm worried about and I can deal with this and it's not going to be that bad. It's going to be better than I imagined. And even if it isn't, I'm going to make it. Like when you get it narrowed down, look how much space energetically you open up for a lot of things. That's another good reason it's good to work on reframing your vocabulary, not using words like never or always, like you always do this. So you always always never do nothing. Like release those words because energetically, the more you think them, the more you feel them, the more you speak them or hear them, the more you're kind of doing like this universal intention for everyone, everything, always, and never. Like stop doing that and you open up, you make a lot of room for a lot of different things to come in, and it starts in your mind, and then you start seeing it in your vibration. You start seeing it if you're dashing out when you're dashing. You start if you are home with the kids, you see change behavior with the kids. If you do, you do some other kind of work where customers come in, you see it change in the way that the customers are, things like that. And then it's just a matter of observing the confirmation. The more you get into observing the confirmation, the easier it becomes to see that you are getting everything that you want. The fears start to go away, and then you have more and more room. The magic of making room in your life. And then eventually you can get to that place where you don't have to make room. You don't like I think a lot of times we get this fear of, well, what I'm going to say is a lot of times we get so much stuff in our lives, it's kind of like a 3D hoarding. Like we get so many people in our lives and we want to hold on to each piece because we fear being alone with our own thoughts and with the universe's thoughts and the weird things that might happen that we can never prove to anybody else. Like we're such a funny species in that way. But we get to that point where we're comfortable with that, where we don't have a whole bunch of codependent relationships. We get to pick and choose, and like we have room to be able to choose it to do different with some people, and to stick to tried and true methods with others, to be new versions of ourselves, and then you don't have to make room for anything because there's already new room in your life, and the things that you've been manifesting that you released along the way, well, they start to manifest because you no longer need them and you're enjoying the space that's there. You're letting go of the need to know everything, the day, the time, the how, the when, the sign, all of that stuff. You release that. And the minute that you release it, and then you get to that, it sometimes for some people, it's just a few seconds of not thinking about that other stuff, which I think is what I've been kind of calling a dimension called in no time. Like where you're having fun and you're not thinking about the things that you feel like you lack or that you want, you're not observing them. And for some people, it's just a few seconds of that, and change starts immediately in that moment. For others, it might take a couple of days. It depends on what you believe, on how fast you believe it can happen, right? So then, when you have that space and you're not thinking about the other stuff and you're not feeling bad because you're not thinking about it, and you're still having faith, and you're in and you just there's room in there, and that everything that's going to be in all the betweens is going to be just as fun as manifesting the thing that you want. And the universe loves surprising us in pleasant ways, and who doesn't like a pleasant surprise? So when you get to that space where you're just enjoying things as they are, and you've done the work and you have lots of space in your life for beautiful experiences, and that's the other part of this divine nugget is like, then you can, when you get there, you can make room in your life. Like if you have twin flame, live in such a way that you would be consistent as you are now when you are with them. I mean, you already are in, you're already in union with them in the 5D and stuff. So but whether you've met them and you're in some kind of separation, or you're just starting, like maybe your class of the freshman class of, of cycle right now. So either you're there or you haven't met them yet. Either way, like think about it, break it down to just basics. If you want to have a partner in your life, what kind of partner do you want them to be? And what kind of partner do you want to be for them? What kind of partner do you want them to want you to be? You know, what kind of needs do you feel comfortable filling? What, you know, find and explore what are your own boundaries? What are the things that you enjoy doing? Do you like cooking? Do you like doing a housewifey thing? Do you not want to do a housewifey thing? Do you want to do more of the masculine stuff? Do you want to bend it in the middle? Do you want to not have rules and have complete anarchy? Do you want to have um, an awesome like DS style thing that has power exchange? Like, do you want to mix all of them together? Think about what it is you want, and then think about who you want to be in that, and then think about the things that you would be doing in your life if they were there. How would you do it? You know, what questions would you ask them in order to help yourself answer the question? What way would they answer it? If you're planning on like if you want it, you always want to get a house with them, or you want to have a house with whomever you would be in a relationship with, then imagine the spaces that they would like to have there. Imagine the things that they would like to do and that you would like to do with them, and the things that they'd like to do on their own. And, you know, just like fill in all the gaps of like how your life would progress forward with them in it. Same thing of if you'd like to do more stuff with your kids, then start living in it, you know, in a way to where you make time. You always have time to do stuff with them. If you want to, or I'd say not spend time with your kids, but if you want to have a better relationship with your kids, playtime is usually the best way to do that. So likewise, you want to be able to go camping more often. We'll live in a way as if you go camping. You know, make room for it in your life. You want to make more money? Okay, then think about how you want to make more money. Do you want to be able to just work a couple hours every day and like that? That's all you got to do, and you make more than enough. It's always better than you imagine, and it's good like that. Or do you like working more? Like I always tease my DM. I know he likes to work. I could like when I manifest my millions and all that stuff, and he stops being a weird brat about things, and I have enough to buy us everything that we want, and let's say he also has enough on his own, say like he did some sort of amazing thing on his own that he's capable of, he has enough money, and he didn't have to work, he'd still work. Like 19 years, I know he would, even if it wasn't an actual like regular job, which it probably would be. He likes to work. Um, but it would be working in some way. Like he's going to be one of those old men that are going to find either out under a car or trying to climb up some ladder to fix something or something. Like some, tinkering with something, working on something. Like, so imagine it realistically. Like, what do you want? You know, how do you want to make it? Do you like working? Do you want to do the kind of work that you feel like you're helping greater humanity, or do you want to do something that's I want to say I don't think anybody doesn't care about that, but like it's okay if you would rather just focus on a you thing. Like you just want to get paid to do something that makes you feel like you every day. There's nothing wrong with that. And actually, you'd be surprised how often when you just do you and you do it just for you, how it actually helps become light work that heals others and gives them permission to do themselves, right? So, like, that's another way to make room for stuff in your life. But before you can get there, sometimes you do. You have to clear out stuff first. You have to clear out the junk thoughts. You have to clear out the doubts. You have to do, that's the shadow work. That's the shadow walking, right? You go through it. You have to say the words to the people sometimes. Other times you just have to already know that it's already worked out. Whatever way, find your way to make room so that, or to clear space so you can make room and get to a place where you start clearing space on a regular basis because you enjoy the process of clearing the space, not because things get too cluttered and overwhelming. And then you're always feeding into the cycle in a positive way and always refreshing your own energy in a positive way that's inviting, that's fun, that's easy, that removes attachments from other people having to bring in that energy. So everything's a bonus, a cherry on top, sprinkles on top, whatever. Was a butterscotch syrup on top, if you prefer that. I remember going to a country harvest as a teen, and I loved getting and putting together a banana split and putting just everything but nuts on it. Hershey's syrup, the strawberry syrup, the butterscotch syrup, the whipped cream. Only a few sprinkles because I don't really like the taste of them overall, and I've never been much for crunchy kind of stuff. Well, Spirit's telling me that this divine nugget is done, so I hope that you've enjoyed it in all of its absurdity and deliciousness. And also, I hope you like my new hat and my new glasses. They were kind of divine timing things that I was not expecting. Same with this lovely necklace. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next Divine Nugget, whenever that is, and I hope that you're having a delicious and wonderful day.